Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 271, 10 of the best Christmas books that still teach something. So today I'm going to share 10 of my favorite Christmas books to use in the classroom, and I'm also going to give you a little bit of a heads up of like what strategies instantly come to mind or what standards come to mind when we are talking about each title. They're so fun, and I think you're going to love them. Hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, welcome back. All right, so today we are talking about leaning into the joy, into the real teaching where we keep it cozy, we keep it full of happiness, and we also keep our kids like under control. And today we're talking about 10 of the best children's Christmas books that actually teach something. These are the books I've kind of leaned into them in the wild December chaos where the glitter is like literally flying everywhere, and we've got assemblies popping up, and we've got, Santa's secret shop, and we've got all these things, and that's happening like every other day. And the attention spans are running on candy canes and wish lists. It's kind of crazy. But instead of just surviving December, what if we could thrive with stories that engage kids, that open their hearts, and yet still hit standards? So we still are covering essential standards and skills that we need to cover. All right, so let's talk about it. Why books matter in December? Books matter in every month of the year. Let me say that right off the bat. But when we lean into Christmas books, it actually makes it more relevant for kids. It really hones into their excitement. It really covers their enthusiasm, and we get to lean into like a magical time of the year. And the week before break is definitely not the time to start like a massive new like genre study or a brand new like intense unit. But it is the perfect time to dig into read-alouds that offer emotional connection and rich discussion, teachable moments that don't require like 1 to 2 pages of worksheets. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And today's list, it hits all of these and so much more. So first of all, I wanted to let you know before we dive in that I do have an all done for you 5-day close reading unit with one of my very favorite books that I am going to mention today. And it's Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus. And if you head to the link in the show notes, you can grab this freebie. It covers author's purpose, it covers visualization, it covers vocabulary, fluency, reflective writing, and it's all wrapped up in a holiday heart. All right, so you can find that at trinadeberyteachingandlearning.com/Yes, Virginia. I think it's Yes, Virginia. Let me double check because sometimes I get that wrong and I don't want to give you the wrong URL. So let me make sure. It is, yes, that is correct. So trinadeberyteachingandlearning.com/Yes, Virginia. All one word, Yes, Virginia. That will take you to the page and you can grab that freebie. All right. So let's talk about the book list breakdown. This is going to be like kind of a quick fire style with the standards. And I am going to give you a little synopsis because, it's also important. So the first book number one is Turkey Claus by Wendy Silvano. So in this hilarious sequel to Turkey Trouble, Turkey realizes he's still in danger, even after Thanksgiving. He hatches a series of wild plans to meet Santa and avoid ending up as Christmas dinner. Full of clever disguises and laugh out loud moments, this book is perfect for teaching perseverance, character development, and how illustrations enhance storytelling. And I would definitely use this book to focus on characters overcoming obstacles, because this poor little turkey is, really working to get to Santa and really working not to be Christmas dinner. And any kind of character focus that you do on turkey can be really powerful, especially because you're learning more things about turkey especially if you did Turkey Trouble. So you're getting a little bit more information about turkey each story, and I think that's really interesting. Another jump right out standard to me is the illustrations and how they work with the words to help the reader better understand and remember the stories, which I think is really powerful. So it's Turkey Claus by Wendy Silvano. I'd focus on characters under pressure, overcoming obstacles, the illustrations enhancing the text, and it's a great follow-up to Turkey Trouble. Book number 2, one of my favorites, Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus by Chris Pleihel. Pleihel, I think is how you say it, Pleihel. Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus. I think it is such a lovely story with so much heart, and it's based on a true life letter that a little girl named Virginia wrote the New York Sun back during the Depression. So it is really based on something true. You can actually look up the letter, and that would be a cool thing to share, like a piece of, something that's real, like a nonfiction letter that was in the newspaper and how the editor had to respond to that. Some of the standards that stand out for me are definitely character work. I think taking a closer look at Virginia, taking a closer look at Ollie, and even Charlotte, which is kind of the villain, can be an incredible way to compare and contrast characters. And even that's not fun when that happens. And even perspective and why they feel the way they do about the story. I also think story structure is strong in this book, with how the story is introduced and how the story is concluded. I think that's really an impactful thing. Also great for retelling, because when you're looking at story structure, I often like to look at a retelling because I don't want to just focus on how the story is introduced and how it ends. I always thought that was kind of a weird standard for second grade, to tell you the truth. Because I'm like the middle, there's so much that's going on in the middle, but I think when you put those standards together, that makes a lot more sense. Anyway, Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus. I do have the 5-day mini unit. Definitely grab it. It will cover some things that I've already explained, and it's just a really fun way to do the story. And also there is an adorable little movie that my brother actually helped produce, and it is such a fun little movie, and doing a little compare and contrast of that can be really powerful as well. So Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus by Chris Pleihel, based on a real letter to the New York Sun. Focus is characters, comparisons, story structure, retelling, author's purpose, and it is one of my favorite freebies. One of my favorite stories with one of my favorite freebies. All right, number 3, Hurry Santa by Julie Sykes and Tim Warnes. It is so... Okay, so this is a one about Santa oversleeps, and he loses his list. So Santa oversleeps, he loses his list, he forgets his boots. It's a Christmas scramble. And it's a charming little story that follows a frantic but very funny journey to save Christmas. With a clear problem and solution structure, lovable illustrations, it's a great text for teaching sequencing, inspiring STEM tie-ins, like designing a morning routine for Santa, or designing a device that helps Santa be on time, or the possibilities are endless when it comes to a STEM response, which I love that. And really kind of just framing it as the problem is Santa's late all the time. How are we going to solve this? That gives it an open-ended feeling, so kids have to figure out how they're going to possibly solve it. I absolutely would definitely focus on problem and solution in this story, which instantly makes me think of STEM. And this is one of the books that I include in my 10-pack read aloud STEM story stations because I think it goes really well with a STEM challenge. And that is actually included in that 10-pack, and I'll link that in the show notes. I think this one also goes well with retelling. It's a simpler story to retell, so that makes it, like an easier thing for kids to grasp as far as not giving you every single detail, like just sticking to the main points. So I think that can be really helpful. All right, so that's number 3, and that's Hurry Santa by Julie Sykes. And the problem and solution in a pinch, we've got simpler retelling, great for sequencing, and also a wonderful part of STEM story stations. Number 4, Santa's Underwear by Marty Rhodes Figley. Speaking of another fun read aloud STEM story station, I also included this in my 10-pack because I think this one is hilarious. Santa's got a problem here. His underwear are not clean or ready for Christmas Eve, and he can't find them, or he can't find his favorite pair. That's what it is. He can't find them, and he refuses to leave the North Pole without them. Kids go wild for the silliness. Anytime you're reading any book about underwear, I mean, you've got a winner, because kids are like, yes, I need to know more about this. And so I think this one's so fun. While teachers love the chance to explore character traits and inferencing, it's a great playful book that adds fun to December without losing academic value. And again, like, kids just think it's really, really fun. And I would absolutely cover characters here because you are going to get some new information about Santa Claus. It's the chance to do some external character traits as well as internal character traits, because who knew that Santa was so stubborn about his favorite underwear? So I think it can be like another thing that kids are learning about Santa. A compare and contrast would work really well with other books that they've read about Santa Claus. That can be a really higher level thinking skill. So I think that's important. So this is book number 4, Santa's Underwear by Marty Rhodes Figley. It's hilarious for character study, great for comparing different Santa stories, and another wonderful STEM read aloud story station book. And again, that's included in the 10-pack. Number 5, Are You Grumpy, Santa by Greg and Evan Spuradelis. And I'm not saying that right. I know I'm not spelling that right. But this is another book about Santa and another fun one that's in my STEM story stations. And it's just so cute. And so here we go. Ever wonder what kind of day Santa has before the big night? Well, from stubbed toes to cold soup, Santa is having a rough one. And it shows. This rhythmic rhyming story invites conversations about emotion, including Santa. And we're looking at inclusion, which is really important because in this book, Santa actually has yellow skin. And I think this is a great one to focus on the inclusivity of all of the Santas that we have in our lives, and how we sometimes imagine this to be the same way every time, but that's not the case. That it's, Santa can come in all different shapes and sizes and all different colors. And I think that's really important. And how visuals shape meaning. And we're going to look at, it's just a really fun one to read. So it's perfect for STEM because, again, we're like trying to solve the problem of Santa being so grouchy, and how can we solve his problem? And in that story, there's several different things or objects that kids could do another iteration of to help him not be so grumpy, or they can think of something brand new. And I think that's really powerful. So they're going to create solutions for Santa being on time. So it's very funny what they come up with. My number 1 suggestion is actually, it is the visuals. It's visuals creating meaning because Santa is yellow. I think that the images help us see Santa in a different way, which could lead to so many conversations about inclusion of all skin types. And we don't have to get too heavy, but this is a powerful conversation, and it leads to understanding and acceptance. And I think that that's important. Vocabulary and structure are another perfect part for this story because it has rhyming words, and these words may not be words that kids know, because they're really, sometimes the author's reaching a bit because he's getting it to rhyme. So there's some words that kids are going to get to learn, which is always exciting. So this is book number 5, Are You Grumpy Santa? By Greg and Evan Spiradelli. And the visuals enhance story. We're looking at fun vocab and story structure, lots of rhyming, and it also opens up gentle conversations about inclusion. Number 6, Santa is Stuck by Rhonda Gowler Green. All right. Oh no, Santa got stuck in the chimney. Now it's up to the kids, the dog, and even Grandma to pull him out. With a clear cause and effect and a classic Christmas problem, this story opens the door to lots of STEM extensions, to problem solving, to playful writing prompts like design a Santa rescue device for STEM, and then like how do they use that as a writing prompt. Again, problem and solution for sure. Point of view could be discussed. Who is telling the story? How would it be different if Santa was actually telling the story himself, or even the reindeer? So much fun. So Santa is Stuck by Rhonda Gowler Green. Perfect for problem and solution, point of view. What if Santa told the story? And also it is included in my STEM story stations. The challenges, not the book. The books aren't included, but the STEM story station challenge is. All right. Book number 7. We're going for it. Book number 7, Christmas Trolls by Jan Brett. Treva is excited for Christmas until she discovers her decorations have gone missing. When she meets the trolls who took them, she chooses kindness over anger, changing everything. Jan Brett's trademark illustrations offer a story within a story, which is perfect for close reading, for character comparison, and for visual literacy. Okay, so I definitely think character work in this book as well. We can look at Treva, we can look at Sammy, we can look at Tig and Mig, who are the trolls. I think it's also goes without saying with a Jan Brett book that we want to focus on the illustrations, because the story is another part of the story is being told in the border of the book, and I think that's very powerful. I also have a close reading unit on this book, and that covers several different comprehension skills. And I do have a STEM extension for this book as well. I have a couple of different things using this book because I think this is one of my favorite books to do. I love to do the Tig and Meg's voice, and my kids loved it. So this is definitely one of my favorites. Christmas Trolls by Jan Brett. I also like to do Christmas Reindeer, I think is the other one, or Wild Reindeer. It might be Wild Reindeer, and I'll do a compare and contrast, but that's a bonus. That's a bonus one. All right, so Christmas Trolls by Jan Brett, deep character work, signature Jan Brett illustrations, and I have, like I said, a comprehension unit on this and a STEM extension, and I'll drop those in the show notes. Book number 8, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Sleigh by Mo Willems. Oh, this is a super fun, quick story that Mo Willems, brings to life with one of our favorite characters, Pigeon. So Mo Willems does it again with this hilarious holiday twist. Pigeon really, really wants to drive the sleigh. But should he? And the spoiler is absolutely not. The familiar voice, the silly antics, predictable structure make this a classroom favorite for character analysis, comparing texts, and building reading confidence. Who doesn't love Mo Willems? I just think he's so fun. And I do have a STEM challenge based on this book. It's only $1.50. That's in my shop as well. And you can grab it. It's in my show notes. I think it's fun. In this book, I would focus on character for sure, because we can learn more and more about Pigeon and how stubborn he is and how he never listens. And we can compare and contrast to other Pigeon books, which can make this a higher level skill with a simple book. So I think that's really fun. So book number 8, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Sleigh by Mo Willems. So fun, so familiar for comparing Pigeon. And it hits character traits and character overcoming obstacles, and that's fun. And then again, there's a STEM extension. Number 9, The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. Who doesn't love the Polar Express? A magical train ride to the North Pole becomes a boy's journey to belief. With rich vocabulary, stunning illustrations, and themes of wonder and imagination, The Polar Express is a December staple. It's a prime mentor text for author's purpose, for vocabulary and context, and even comparing text to the film. And that's one of the very reasons why I liked to do The Polar Express. And I also have a unit on that I'll jump in the show notes. And it even has a compare and contrast to the movie, because we weren't allowed to share movies in my school unless they were 30 minutes, which is how I actually became such a fan of Yes, Virginia, because it was like 25 minutes. But the Polar Express, we still had the Polar Express Day, and I tied it all to standard so I could say, here you go, here's the evidence. You know, sometimes I'm like, do we really have to do that? But okay, fine. So it's done. So the Polar Express is my book recommendation, book number 9. And I think it's a really special one. And last but not least is The Night Before Christmas by Clement C. Moore, which is a iteration of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, which is a famous poem written long ago. So this classic poem captures the anticipation and magic of Christmas Eve, and it's perfect for fluency practice and vocabulary discussions. Especially, there's a word in the book where it's like Santa turns with a jerk. And I remember my son was like, jerk, like he thought I had just said a bad word. And so I'm like, oh no, like, let me read it to you again. And we're going to look at how they're using it in the story. And that's such a, helpful thing for multiple meaning words, which can be very confusing to younger children and also to kids whose English is not their primary language. So that is the number one thing that we can use with this book. And this is a family tradition for me, where we still do this in my house to this day. And my kids are 25 and now 21. And we read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas every Christmas Eve. And that's kind of how we end the day. And I FaceTime, my son is usually home, and I FaceTime with my daughter, and it's really special. Yeah. So that's my number 10, The Night Before Christmas. It's a family tradition, and it's a good one for like poetry and word structure and vocabulary, multiple meaning words. And also it's a special one. And some kids have never heard it, which is shocking. And then I do have a bonus. I have a bonus story that I wanted to share. And I thought that I wrote it down, but maybe I didn't. And maybe it was The Wild Reindeer, but I lost it. So I guess I'm not going to share that bonus one that I have. All right. So let's talk about it. These books, they aren't just fun and fluff. They are standards aligned. They are standards aligned magic that gives your students connection, joy, and thinking skills without you having to build an entirely new lesson plan. You don't need to choose between cozy and curricular. You can have both. So don't forget to grab my Yes, Virginia, my 5-day close reading unit to show, and that is in the show notes. That's a freebie. And then definitely browse my shop on TPT, Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, and see if you want to grab any of the STEM story stations or the comprehension packets or any of the fun little things like that. And hey, if you're curled up in your classroom, rocking a holiday sweater and trying to make it through these last few weeks, you're not alone. We are all in this together. Let the books do some of the heavy lifting. Until next time, keep teaching from the heart, and sweet dreams and sleep tight.